Shalom, all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, pushing this 100% truth of the gospel, waking up and sealing the elect of the nation of Israel through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. And salutations to your sincere Akim that are pushing this gospel in all righteousness and in all sincerity, risking your lives and your freedom to do so. Alright, so this is your brother about once again, and I'm coming back to another video entitled Just the Renaissance, okay? Because going back to some of the apostles' previous videos, we are going into the Renaissance period, okay, which was basically, if you go into the word Renaissance, you go into the etymology, it just means just means backborn. If you want to literally look for the literal translation, but it goes back to, and you know what, it even explains it in this website I have here. It's go back to a French word meaning rebirth. Because this was a period in history, okay. According to Esau, according to Esau, it has a whole technical explanation for it, but through prophecy and through the scriptures, we understand that it was a period in history where Esau came back into rulership. Okay, he got back his. That's what I want to say. He got back his power. Basically, it was the rebirth, or it was the rebirth or the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. Okay, so it was called a Renaissance, and since I decided to do a little research on that Renaissance, I found out that going back into the history, you're looking at why the Renaissance happened, where it started from all the history surrounding it. It is very clear, okay, what the Renaissance actually is. It was Esau coming back to his heritage, coming back to his Roman, he was just coming back to his heritage, basically coming back to his roots as the Romans, okay. It was him, when he realized that this is who he was, and that he was the Romans, and when he continued, he remembered the influence of the Roman Empire and decided to use that, those things from those artifacts, those things from the Roman Empire to continue in his rulership. He remembered, rather, he got back his Roman roots, his roots from the Roman Empire. So let me just read some of this. Get some, read some of this. Read some of this so I can see, okay, where this, what the Renaissance is, where it came from, okay. So yes, this is right here. Renaissance period in European civilization immediately following the Middle Ages, and the Middle Ages is the Dark Ages, okay. We talk about it where Jake was ruling after the Holy Roman Empire up until the Renaissance period, okay. So during that period, you had Jake in rulership, okay. You had Esau in captivity, in slavery, okay. They were taken down from their position as rulers. Their empire fell, the Roman Empire fell, and Jake was the one that was ruling up until the Renaissance. And Esau came back into power for various reasons, okay. Whether it was the Black Plague, okay, whether it was them usurping power from Jake, from Israelites, because during that time you had so many Israelites, okay, of the royal, of royal persuasion, okay. You had kings of these dark, you have kings of this king, you have kings of these nations that were around during the Dark Ages, the Byzantines, the Polish, the Irish, and the Scots, the Wales, the English as well. The old English empire when they were ruled by Jake. You had them being taken over by Edomites. Going back to Ecclesiastes 12 verse 10, where it tells you not to trust your enemy, because, and it tells you not to keep him near you, sit not by him, else he take thy throne, he take thy place, he overtakes you, which is exactly what Esau did, okay. And also, of course, because of the curses that were put on us as a people, okay, because we were because during that time when we were the kings, we were not serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, okay. We were not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments as we should have been. So those curses fell upon us. A strange people came and took us over. All right, so continuing on, Renaissance period in European civilization immediately following the Middle Ages and conventionally held to have been characterized by a surge of interest in classical scholarship and values. Okay, so when you see this term classical scholarship, you know what, let me just click on it so I can show you, because this is what he does, man. Makes it seem as though when he talks about classical, he's actually talking about the things that goes back to the Roman Empire, and this is it right here. Classical scholarship, the study in all its aspects of ancient Greece and Rome. That's basically it. Okay, Esau rekindled his Roman heritage. Okay, he found basically what the Renaissance was, because it started in Italy. That he found relics. Okay, he found artifacts, found poetry, found art of ancient Rome. He found artifacts from ancient Rome, and that's what sparked the Renaissance. Okay, when after Jake fell and he started digging up the old relics from Rome, and he started seeing that they started seeing that they were the Romans. Okay, that they had this old heritage, and they started adopting it, they started coming back into it. Okay, so they were so the Renaissance was basically a rebirth of the Roman Empire, a rebirth of Rome. That's why now you see in the modern times, Europe and America. Okay, Babylon, Babylon and the different EU nations are so heavily influenced by Roman architecture and by Roman culture, because that's basically okay, that's basically all the Renaissance was, them rekindling their Roman heritage, them finding it again, and bringing it out and continuing in it. Okay, so now let me go on down. The Renaissance also witnessed the discovery and exploration of new continents, the substitution of the Copernican for the Ptolemaic system of astronomy, the decline of the feudal system and the growth of commerce, and the invention and application of potentially powerful innovations as paper, printing, the mariner's compass, and gunpowder. To the scholars and thinkers of the day, however, it was primarily a time of the revival of classical learning and wisdom after a long period of cultural decline and stagnation. This is telling you, the story from Esau's perspective. After spending so long in the Caucasus Mountains, basically being cave dwellers, not having any, being no different from beasts, they came back to some form of rulership. They came back to some form of wisdom and knowledge, which is in the form of rediscovering the ancient Roman relics. After spending so much time, and this is when I see that term again, classical. Okay, you saw it at the top. You saw it at the top, and you saw it at the top. They found classic. They say it was classical. I forget the term that is, well, classical art or something along those lines. And now you see it here, classical learning, and all this is pointing to ancient Rome, pointing back to the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, because that's what they mean when they talk about classical. That's what they mean when they talk about classical, according to the Renaissance. Because that is exactly what is wants to do, what is what you taught you how you believe. And then, all the other ancient civilizations, they had no understanding, they had no knowledge except for Rome. Okay, that Rome was the beginning. That Rome was the beginning, was when Rome was when wisdom, when men started being able to when they started discovering, when they started inventing and all that. But what you will find out in actuality is that the Roman Empire was just an amalgamation of the best parts of all the other different empires. Okay, these Edomites, they can't create anything original, so they copy what everybody else has been doing. And you see, if you go into, if you do your research, if you do your due diligence, you see it. Okay, their military, they took aspects of the Assyrian Babylonian Empire and the Persian Empire in order to form up their military. They took different cultures, and they took what they were doing, right. Even the Roman Empire, even the Roman Empire was taken from Japheth. Okay, that's why they call. That's why the people are saying that the white man is the so-called white man is a Japhite, because they believe that they are the original Europeans, which they are not. Okay, they are the Edomites. They changed their name to the Romans in order to, because of the implications of that name Esau. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another article right here, which the article is, let me go back up to it. 5 reasons why the Renaissance began in Italy. All right, so basically, what this is going into to show you the reasons why you see the Renaissance, and anyway, it show you what the reasons why the Renaissance actually began in Italy. Actually began. You show you the reasons why it happened. Okay, because if you go into history, the Renaissance, the rebirth, as it were, it started in Italy. You know, which of course was one of the major sites of the ancient Roman Empire, which is also just showing you that it was all because he dug up his relics. Okay, he dug up his past and he found out who he was, in the past, that he was the Romans, and he started building up from there. Okay, that's why you see when you see the Renaissance art, when you see the Renaissance art, when you see the cathedrals, when you see everything that is involved, during that period, it is there's no difference between it and the old ancient Roman art, because it is the same people that were making it. Okay, the same group of people. That's why you see Christianity today, plantation Christianity, is so heavily influenced by Greek and Roman culture, even though it is a Hebrew religion. Okay, even though it's supposed to be based off a Hebrew religion, because that is exactly what it is. Okay, it's a Renaissance. It was the it's I want to say it is a Renaissance religion, but it's also a religion that was influenced by Rome, because remember, you know, because if you know the history, you know that all of the doctrines and all the everything that Christianity stands for was decided in the Council of Nicaea. Right, I forget the exact date, but by Emperor Constantine and the priests that were around during that time. When the Catholic Church was established, everything was, all the doctrines, all the philosophies, the dogma was ordained during that council. Okay, so now going into this article, the Renaissance has long been considered one of Europe's most significant periods, with its outpouring of magnificent artwork, compelling literature, and new philosophical concepts still influencing audiences today. And why is that? Because since that Renaissance up till now, the same group of people have been in rulership, okay, which is Esau, Edom, okay. And continue, occurring in the 15th and 16th century, it pulled Europe out of the Dark Ages and towards the Enlightenment. And you see what these devils are doing. They want to make it seem as though during the Dark Ages nothing was happening, that the world was completely stagnant. But that's not actually the case. Okay, the reason why they do that is because this is just more proof to let you know that Jake was in rulership during that time, because when Esau, because nothing was happening for Esau during that time, man. They were, let me get this precept in Job. So, okay, let me get it in Job. I have to get this precept in Job. This is exactly what was going on with Esau during that time. Alright. Book of Job 30 verse 1 and it reads, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would not have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." And this is speaking of Esau, Edom, man, because in the spirit, okay, these devils are younger than us, because what as Israelites we were the first spirits created. Continue on. Like I realize in the book of Hebrews, the first chapter, if you want to look for a reference, to that. I realize the book of Hebrews, the first chapter. No, I don't think it is. I think no, it's like I have to look for it. So I have to look for it. Okay, it is the book of Revelation, and I'll start from verse 14. Revelation 14 verse 1, and reads, "And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads." Right, so this is speaking of the 144,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down to verse 4, and it reads, I want to jump down to verse 4, and it reads, "These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto the Most High and to the Lamb." Basically, the first spirits that were created. So now let me go back to that Job 30. And I'll continue reading from there. Alright, so that's where I stopped. Right, Job 30, verse 1. But now, they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yet whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former times, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes, and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth among men, they cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs and of the valleys, in the caves of the earth and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. That is speaking of Esau, Edom. Okay, when during the past, when they were not different from these animals, man. When they were living in the Caucasus Mountains. Okay, that's why you see them having the term Caucasian. That's why they always talk about the cavemen. Okay, well during the dark ages, the period of the dark ages that was going on. You know, but now they have come back into the we had about during the Renaissance period. Okay, they came back into their power through they came back into their power. Okay, because that was prophesied to happen. The beast whose deadly wounds was healed. I'm going to get those precepts as well, of course. So let me keep on going down. Let me keep on going down. Alright, so occurring in the 15th and 16th centuries, it pulled Europe out of the Dark Ages and towards Enlightenment. And this is what he likes to do. He likes to make it seem as though he's the Enlightenment. That's why you have him calling himself the Illuminati. He likes to make it seem as though he's the illuminated one. The morning star. That's why they call him what the morning star. That's why they call him Lucifer. Okay, he wants to be Lucifer, but he's only on the left hand side. He wants to make it as though he is now with all the information, the understanding, the one that can show people the whole planet is the way. But that's not who he is. That's not who he is. Okay. Now continue on through a world altering return to ancient ideals, and the ancient ideals being Rome. Okay, so anyway, while the Renaissance had vastly far-reaching implications, it was in fact born in a small Mediterranean nation with an illustrious past, Italy. Here are 5 reasons why the Renaissance began there, from its place in the ancient world to the rule of the Vatican City. And I want to just only get 2 of those reasons because only 2 are relevant to this topic. And continue. It had been the heart of the Roman Empire. One of the key aspects of the Renaissance was its significant revival of the artistic and philosophical ideals of antiquity, particularly those of ancient Rome and ancient Greece. Thus were better to begin than the old epicenter of the Roman thus were better to begin than the old epicenter of the Roman Empire. Italy was still littered with ruined temples, sculptures, and frescoes of its glorious past, according to Renaissance artists, a host of clear and immediate templates on which to base their work. So, basically, what you have is what I've been mentioning before, the ruins of ancient Rome, the ruins of ancient Greece. Because after Esau came into rulership, during that Renaissance period, you see that after you have the Russian icons and all that, majority of the relics that were around during that time were relics of Jake. Okay, the relics of they were showing what that the Israelites were ruling during that time, and he had to paint over them with his image. Okay, that's why you have iconoclasm. That's why you have you had these different what they call them, the different Edomite painters, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael. That's why you had them so popular during that time, because these rulers, the Edomite rulers were the Edomite rulers, the Italian rulers, men like the Borgia family. Okay, they were paying these men to perform iconoclasm, to paint over those images, to create new sculptures to create new sculptures from the really ruins of the Roman Empire, to try to make it seem as though they were the ones that were in rulership all through this time. And this is how Esau has set up his deceit over the earth. Okay, that was where this all started from this Renaissance period. Right, so continue to the second reason, the second part. And you see all these ancient paintings that are just scrolling through. Then you can look up Renaissance art, you can look up, and you can look up Roman art, and you see that it is one and the same. And maybe you can look up the art from the Dark Ages, and you see that it is completely different. Okay, so continuing on to extensive scholarly activity recovered vital ancient works, and this is all the same thing. Okay, they were going back into the past. What did they do? They went back into the search of their fathers. Okay, they found who they found their they found their ancient artifacts. They found the ancient relics of their people. And continuing, despite being at the heart of the old empire and retaining many of its physical works, many of its ingenious texts had been lost to time, leaving a hugely important aspect of the Renaissance unaccounted for. It would take the fall of another great empire for many of them to resurface in Italy. The Fourth Crusade of the 13th century had weakened the Byzantine Empire substantially, and in 1453, Constantinople at last fell to the Ottomans. Over this turbulent period, a huge community of Byzantine scholars were forced to flee into the north of Italy, bringing with them a host of classical texts preserved in their libraries. Okay, and this is telling you what, that it was the fall of Jake that led to the Renaissance. So telling you, the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople. These empires were ruled by Jake. Specifically, Constantinople. About Hannibal Barca. Okay, and those ancient stories. When they got taken out, when they got taken out by Muslim Edomites. You see. Okay, so it's all going back towards Jake being taken down by Esau. Okay, and Esau coming into rulership. And using the Renaissance, to reinvigorate themselves, to rebirth their kingdom, to continue that fourth beast. Okay, because even though Jake was in rulership for a little season, they were still in the time of the fourth beast ruling. The kingdom had not yet come. Okay, so what else would happen in that way? Even after Jake was taken down, Esau would still rule again, and it was prophesied, and I've said this before, that it was prophesied for Jake to come into rulership for a little season, and then Esau to take him down, and he would rule for a little season as well. Okay, so I'm going to get those pieces as well. Let me just finish this up. Okay, so that's basically it. That's basically all I wanted to get. So let me get some presets real quick. So I'll start with the book of Habakkuk. Okay, because it's something I wanted to bring out from there. I don't know if I read it when I was reading the article, but anyway, Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 5, and it reads, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and keepeth unto him all people." So now I'm going to get another reason for the Renaissance. Let me get it. Stuck here. Let me look for it. Here it is. For vast trading links encourage cultural and material exchange, and that's what I read that preset. Because this is Esau. He's not satisfied with his own. He's not satisfied with his own. He goes around. He goes around and heaping and gathering. The scripture says that he's like death, and unlike hell, he's not satisfied. So continue on. As many of Italy's powerful city-states were located on a peninsula of the Mediterranean Sea, it became a hotbed for trading goods and ideas. Different cultures came through Italy's ports even day, every day, as merchants from around the world interacted with those in the marketplace and inns that they stayed in. Trade routes as far as China and Middle East terminated in Venice and Genoa, while routes from England and Scandinavia also operated frequently. Right, this is E. What he's in. This is E, gathering and heaping all nations to himself. By taking by taking these different cultures and incorporating it into his new revised Roman Empire, his rebirthed Roman Empire, which is that Renaissance. Okay, that's what was happening while he was ruling, because this is what he always does. He takes all nations unto himself. He heaps all people to himself, as the scripture says. That's this devil's pride. They can't be satisfied with this. Can't be satisfied with anything. They covet everything. They want all people. They want all nations under their rule. They want everything to themselves. The whole earth, the whole universe. In fact. All right. So now we are speaking about it. So I'm going to get I believe that is Revelation the 19th chapter. So I cannot that's Revelation 19th chapter. Let me check the 20th chapter. Okay, yeah, it is Revelation 20, and I'll start from verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he had laid on the devil, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. And this is what happened, during Esau's rulership. He came into power as the Roman Empire. Alright, that dragon, that old serpent, the devil, Satan, you should already know what it is. It is Esau, Edom, it is the whole nation, because the whole nation makes up that dragon, okay? All their different rulerships, the fourth beast is because if you want to look at it, the fourth beast was a dragon. Okay, this is showing you that, going back to the garden, okay, that Esau was that serpent, okay? That Esau was the serpent that just speak of in the garden, because as one of the brothers put this as mysteries of the kingdom. That when you talk about pride, you go back to the word pride, it goes back to swelling, okay? So this serpent swelled and it grew up all the way up until it became a dragon, okay? So Esau, it turns from what? It turns from a worm to a serpent into a dragon. That was his, and that's representing, it's like that's representing his growth, okay? How he how he developed from a simple serpent into a dragon, 7 heads and 10 horns. And this dragon was thrown into a bottomless pit, which is Europe, okay? Because you could know how Europe is. The land is completely unfertile, okay? The land is unfertile. The land is basically a pit, because they don't produce much in the way of agriculture, and in the way of resources, okay? No minerals within the land. And I continue from, yeah, I think I continue from verse 3. Okay, that's like I have to read from, I'm not sure if I read verse 3, so I'll have to read it again. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. So that's what he was doing with the Roman Empire. He was ruling over the nations and equally deceiving them, okay? Up on, because we already know how this devil works. It is propaganda, all right, with his lies, with his deceit, with his media, with his witchcraft. This is what Esau was put on the earth to do. These two blessings that he was given, the sword and the witchcraft, and the witchcraft of deceit, the deceitful and the deceitful tongue. So that 1,000 years represents the 1,000 years in which Jake was ruling after the Roman Empire. From the time of the Holy Roman Empire, that was the time of from the Holy Roman Empire, that was 322 BC, the 322 AD, I believe, up until the beginning of the Renaissance, which was in the 14th century. Okay, so that was roughly 1,000 years, and then Esau came back into rulership, and he continued his wickedness up until now, which has been what, a little over 600 years. Like 600 to 700 years now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it has reached 600 years. Yes. I think just a little over 500 years. Don't. I have to bust out the calculator and get it. But the Renaissance, it fully started in the 14th century. Okay, I believe the best period is during the time of the Borgia family. That was 14. That was the late 1400s, also the 15th century. All right, so I mean mid 1400s, the 15th century, up until now that we're in the 21st century. So yeah, just a little over 500 years. That's what. So yeah, it's just a little over 500 years. And what you see, that's why you see so much influence coming from the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, because that is exactly what that that's why that's why you see so much influence coming from the ancient Roman Empire, because during the Renaissance period, Esau, he dug up the old relics from the Roman Empire. He started going back into the philosophies of the Roman Empire, the culture, okay, the beliefs of the beliefs of the Roman Empire, and all and all that and all those things in order to build up his own, build up this new kingdom, okay. And going back to Job 9 verse 24, once the earth was given into his hand, the whole earth, he painted over the images of the judges, the Israelites, basically, and started claiming that he was those people. That's why you see him saying that he is the Brits, okay, he's the Vikings, he's all people. That's basically what he was doing. Going back to the book of Habakkuk 2 verse 5, he started claiming that he was all the people that were on the earth, even the Egyptians, the Africans, the ancient Egyptians, the Canaanites, the Philistines, the Persians, all people. He started claiming that he was them, that they were all, that they were all, and if that they were all so-called white-skinned people, okay, but they were also called pale-fleshed Edomites. And even if he admits that they were dark-skinned, he'll tell you that they were dark-skinned Edomites that lightened up over the years. And that's not, well, we know through history, okay, we know what happened, and we know through the scripture, through prophecy, and through history that was not the case, okay. Because you see, even now Esau is starting to come, this is starting to admit it little by little, but you know what this devil does, man? You know how he works. When he brings, how it works, he'll bring out one truth and two lies. He'll bring out one truth, you bring out one truth and two lies. Tell you, you admit that that what the ancestors, the people that were ruling in Europe at that time, could have been dark skinned. That's what this Esau would say. You admit that, okay, maybe Adam and Eve were dark skinned, but then he'll bring out two more lies to offset that truth and make and to throw people deeper into his deceits. All right, so yeah, that's probably just all I wanted to bring out. Just little something on the Renaissance. With that, I'd like to end it right there and give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bawasham, Yawashai, Bawasham Rachak, Wadash, Wa Abad Babal, and through the Spirit of the Akim Aqua edified. Shalom.